Guinea is in. And that was all she wrote. The Reds would make the most of their opportunities. Interestingly, as we reflect on this match and we look at the phases, we look at the ruck and maul and the tackle, Reds coach Ewan McKenzie has talked about how the Reds decided to see them more than what has been average throughout Super Rugby. I believe it's 3 in Super Rugby, and they said 5 into the tackle contest. And you could see in the intensity of that area that both sides were really putting the numbers in. The scrums, well, the Crusaders were believed to dominate, or believed that they would dominate, and they did in the end. However, in terms of them dominating, the result of their domination didn't come out as they would have needed, as they would have wanted. Stuart Barnes, interestingly, well-known scribe of Sky Sports, one of my favourite rugby union comments guys, articulate and insightful, commented on Bryce Lawrence, how if another referee had been controlling that match, then the Crusaders' scrum dominance most likely would have been enough for them to be able to win the match. He reflected on the low quality of the match, even saying that Leinster would have been confident in taking the Reds. Interesting perspective. Interesting from a scrumming perspective, looking forward into the future in the Rugby World Cup and how the referees will look to control the engagement, to allow either side, our front row 5, the 8, to be able to control the contest. Lawrence allowed the Reds to be able to use some tactics. In fact, Stuart Barnes talks about Ben Daly showing his rump to the sideline. The Reds were able to use it to their effect and get away with it, and in the end, matches can come down to moments and to contexts where one side may not be as strong as where they want to be, but they're able to get out of it without too much cost. The line out, well, that was a miss for the Crusaders. Corey Flynn, historically throwing in, has been a bit of an issue for him. In the year of 2011, it's been pretty solid. Graham Henry, press conference when the All Black squad was announced for the Tri-Nations and Corey Flynn was in it, mentioned the 18 rounds in the round robin. Corey Flynn had been solid, as many had been thinking and reflecting on whether that line-out performance would impact on Corey Flynn's selection in the All Blacks. So the line-outs for the Crusaders significantly impacted them. Their ability to be able to get cohesion early on, not straight, really negated their ability in that context. The attack, the defence, well, the attack was really was in a sense a step on from what happened. A lot of mistakes, drop ball, pressure on passes, not meeting the man going into the touch. And so the attack was really, it was broken field. Individual brilliance, Dan Carter in the first half, Dick Vioani and Willie Guinea in the second half. Those were the individuals who were able to mark it, and it was just that the Reds were able to get 2-1 in that phase, which would ultimately tell the tale. The defence, well, it was willing. The Crusaders, yes, they had intensity, yes, they were committed, but it wasn't at that level, that rarefied air on Table Mountain, where they were able to absolutely obliterate a Stormers side, not only on attack but in defence. Just they were able to hit them at time and time again. Todd Blackadder has talked about how he had needed to bring on his reserves earlier than previously. How I could see many of his side were flagging, and I guess that is a tale of the season, that people didn't see the travel as being so significant in the final, and pointed to how successful and what a season it's been. It's hard to be disappointed as a Crusaders man, disappointed in the final result, but hard to be really overtly disappointed in a season that will hopefully never be repeated. Today we have Super Rugby 2011. The Reds, outsiders early on, each challenge they'd rise above it. Winning in South Africa, winning both their matches in South Africa was significant, particularly over the Stormers. Beating the Crusaders at home, well, we know it was controversial. Semi-final where the Blues didn't offer too much, and then ultimately the final, when many predicted the Crusaders' experience and players would win the match. The Reds, on the scoreboard, are the champions for 2011. That is Super Rugby. It has gone before us. A new conference play, reflecting on the conference play. Well, I know many are not a fan, but I have to say, I've enjoyed the interconference play. I think it's given a dimension that we've lost in New Zealand in provincial context. And while the number of matches is going to impact on the Currie Cup and the ITM Cup for an Australian conference, well, they don't have those fixtures, so they're just loving it. Australian conference, a weaker conference, that's a concern. It allowed the Reds easier opposition, and that, I think, impacted obviously on their points on the board, but in saying that, they did win the matches that they needed to in the end. And so, while we may quibble, while we may question, while we may look at certain things and say, well, maybe there shouldn't have been, the Reds will be forever enshrined as the champions of Super Rugby. It brings to a close the competition in this phase of rugby. I'm Johnny King, will be bringing you much more as the ITM Cup and the international season is upon us. We all know what's coming in place in September and October, and that will be significant in the world of rugby. I trust you have enjoyed this video, representation of some events. Off the cuff, a one-take wonder where you can decide if it has been as such. I'll be looking to bring to you many more videos, and who knows, in a number of different sporting contexts. I thank you for listening and enduring this time. It's been I am Johnny King from Middle New Zealand, late on a Monday night. Until next time, thank you. Over.